Dear all, welcome back to another video. In this video, we will go through set of interview questions related to Azure Storage Account, which would be useful if you're preparing for Azure admin role, as Storage Account is key services used to manage an Azure hosted environment. So let's begin. First one, what is an Azure Storage Account? Response. An Azure Storage Account is a cloud-based storage solution that provides scalable, durable, and secure storage for various data types. It supports different storage services like Blob storage, unstructured data, images, videos, backups, file storage, managed file shares, SMB protocol, queue storage, messaging between applications, table storage, NoSQL key value store, disk storage, virtual machine disks. Moving to next one. What are the different types of Azure Storage Accounts? Possible response. General Purpose V2, GPV2, most commonly used, supports all storage types with tiering. General Purpose V1, GPV1, older version, less commonly used now. Blob Storage Account, optimized for blob storage, supports hot-cool access tiers. Premium Blob, high performance for blob workloads. Premium File Shares, high IOPS for file workloads, SSD-backed. Premium Page Blobs, used for VM disks, managed unmanaged. Moving on. What are access tiers in Azure Blob Storage? Response. Azure Blob Storage provides cost-optimized access tiers. Hot, frequently accessed data, higher cost, lower latency. Cool, infrequently accessed data, cheaper storage, higher access cost. Archive, rarely accessed data, lowest storage cost, hours to retrieve. Next, what is the difference between blob storage and file storage in Azure? Response. Blob storage used for object storage, unstructured, whereas file storage is used for file shares, SMB access. Blob storage can be accessed through REST API, Azure SDK, however file storage allows SMB protocol, Azure Files. Use case for blob storage would be images, backups, logs where in file storage for lift and shift legacy apps. File system, blob storage, no traditional file system, whereas for file storage it's yes, hierarchical namespace supported. Moving further. How do you secure data in Azure Storage? Response. Encryption at rest with Storage Service Encryption, SSE, using Microsoft or customer-managed keys. Encryption in transit via HTTPS. Access control. Shared access signatures, SaaS. Azure RBAC. Azure AD authentication. Private endpoints, secure access over a private IP. Firewalls and virtual networks, limit access by IP network. Next, what is shared access signature, SaaS, in Azure Storage? Possible response. A SaaS is a token that grants limited access to storage resources without exposing the account key. Types. User Delegation SaaS uses Azure AD credentials. Service SaaS, access to specific services. Account SaaS, broad access across services. Use cases, temporary file uploads, downloads, and limited access to blobs or files. Moving to next one. How does geo-redundancy work in Azure Storage? Response. Azure Storage offers data redundancy for high availability. LRS, locally redundant storage copies data within one data center. ZRS, zone redundant storage across availability zones within a region. GRS, geo-redundant storage copies data to a secondary region. RAGRS, read access GRS plus read access to the secondary. Moving on. What is Azure Storage Explorer? Response. Azure Storage Explorer is a GUI-based tool for managing Azure Storage accounts. It allows you to upload, download, manage blobs, files, queues, and tables. Manage access levels and SaaS tokens. Connect multiple subscriptions and storage accounts. Next, what are immutable blob policies in Azure? Response could be, immutable policies prevent data in a blob from being modified or deleted for a specified retention period. Legal hold retains data until explicitly removed. Time-based retention automatically expires after a set duration. Used in compliance, example, financial, healthcare records. Moving on. What is Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 and how is it different? Response. ADLS Gen 2 is built on top of Blob storage with hierarchical namespace support. Features: fine-grained file folder-level access, POSIX ACLs, optimized for big data analytics, supports Hadoop-compatible analytics engines. Next, how do you monitor Azure storage usage and performance? Response. Use Azure Monitor, metrics, and diagnostic logs. Enable logging for read-write-delete operations, capacity and transaction metrics, alerts on thresholds, example, storage nearing limit. Moving on. Can Azure storage be mounted on premises? Response. Yes. Azure file storage can be mounted via SMB 3.0 protocol on Windows, Linux with CIFS or SMB support, via Azure File Sync to enable caching and syncing between Azure and on-premises servers. Next one. What are lifecycle management policies in Azure Storage? Response. Lifecycle management rules automatically transition or delete blobs based on last modified date, access tier, blob type. Example, move blob to cool after 30 days, delete after 365 days. Moving to next one. What is soft delete in Azure Storage? Possible response. Soft delete allows recovery of deleted blobs or files within a retention period up to 365 days. It's available for blob storage, soft delete for blobs, containers, versions, file shares, soft delete for Azure files. Next, how do you grant granular access to Azure Storage without sharing the account key? Response. Use Azure AD authentication with RBAC roles like Storage Blob Data Reader, Storage Blob Data Contributor. For temporary access, generate user delegation SaaS instead of using storage keys. Thank you for watching. See you again on another video.